With the 15th pick and with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Luke. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report Live. So, it's Super Bowl week. Unfortunately, the Redskins aren't playing, but we've gotten accustomed to that. A lot of news, though, this week regarding the Redskins, and really not news per se, just stories, hypotheticals, that sort of thing. And you're going to get a lot of those types of things as we try to get through to the draft. And so you'll get a ton of hypotheticals. You'll get a ton of stories where they're making lists. And speaking of lists, the Redskins, and I hate this website, hate this publication. I don't necessarily agree with what they put out. I don't retweet their stuff usually because I'm not a huge fan of their work. However, Pro Football Focus recently put out a list ranking the drafts from 2019. Now, again, this is a list of the best 2019 NFL draft classes, and we're 1 year removed from those draft classes, okay? Next year, someone else could have the best 2019 NFL draft class. The year after that, and which is probably more likely when we'll actually be able to determine what those draft classes really look like, well, but we might not know what this draft looks like. And we may feel totally different about this draft than where we are right now. But the Redskins draft, according to Pro Football Focus, scored the highest of any team in the National Football League, making them the number one 2019 NFL draft class in the league. That sounds good to me. Remember, this is a draft class that we still are waiting on two guys that I think are very talented and can actually help this football team in 7th round pick Jordan Brailford and 4th round pick Bryce Love. Okay, so when you're talking about this football team and some of the players that haven't even hit the field yet, and this is the number one draft class of 2019, again, we're 1 year removed from that draft. I get it, but to see what we got out of Dwayne Haskins after a rocky start and saw the potential towards the end of the season, to see what we got out of Terry McLaurin as a 3rd round pick and feel like what this guy can bring to the table moving forward is going to be huge. To get 7 sacks out of Montez Sweat when he was dropping in coverage half the damn time, all right? And see him start to come on as the season got towards the end and him start to take strides in the right direction. To see what we were able to get out of Cole Holcomb, and to see a glimpse of Wes Martin and see the potential that he has. And the list goes on. And you know, we felt really good coming into the season about the 7th round corner out of James Madison. Don't know what he's going to be, but the people's corner looked damn good to us early on. I think he's got a lot of growing to do, but in any event, you know, that's another guy you throw into the mix. Undrafted guy. And Steven Sims Jr., add him to the mix. This is a really solid class, and you don't know what Ross Pierce-Baker is going to be. You don't know what Bryce Love is going to be. You don't know what Jordan Brailford could potentially be, but they rated our class number one. I thought it was a really good class. I was really excited after the class, and we'll see what happens moving forward, but I digress. I put out a video, a couple actually. I'll set the table, and then we'll open up phone lines, and I'll let you guys have at it. But the Carolina Panthers and tight end Greg Olsen, Grego, have officially mutually agreed to part ways. So although his release isn't official, they have officially agreed to part ways. They get their $11.6 million back under the cap, and he gets to go on his merry way to either join another team or join someone's booth as a commentator, as an analyst. So either way, he's going to be fine. And whether that team is New England or that team is Washington or some other team, or he goes and jumps into the booth, he's going to be really good at whatever he does. So I posed that question to you guys. We'll talk about that tonight. I surmise we'll see some of that in the comment section. We'll also probably have some calls and we'll take tonight that will mention that as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing you guys' comments on that. Also, I talked about the number 2 overall pick, what the Redskins should do. And we've got so much time to talk about that, but it was a little bit relevant. It was relevant this week because Peter King, again, had a sit-down, quick interview with J.P. Finley of Redskins Talk and Redskins NBC Washington. And he talked about the number 2 overall pick and how he was at the Senior Bowl just a week ago, and there were people in league circles that think the Redskins could revamp their entire organization by trading the number 2 overall pick. I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, especially if Chase Young is sitting there staring you in the face. I've done a video on that as well, but I surmise we're going to hear about that tonight from you guys as well. So looking forward to hearing that from you as well. That being said, I'm going to open up the phone lines. Let me recap how this works. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to the Louis T Network for more great content. Check out the podcast, Louis T Network Podcast, new episode tomorrow. I dropped the Kobe Bryant episode earlier this week, and the last episode is also up as well. So check all of those out. But if you want your comment to be read in the comment section, use the hashtag LouisTLive to have your comment read, and if it's pertinent, we'll read it on the air. Now, how this thing works when we're live is we've got 3 different levels, all right? A pecking order, if you will, all right? Number 1, super chats. If you're putting up a donation, if you're putting forth some bread, your comment comes first. Second is the open phone lines, to which here's the number that you can call in. There it is on the screen, all right? So the calling in is second, all right? And third is the chat discussion, where you will use the hashtag LouisTLive to have your comment read on the air again, if it is pertinent. So with that being said, let's jump into the show tonight. Phone lines are open. I'll get to the comment section here in a second, but I do also want to say that I was wrong on my video earlier. I said that today was the 29th. Today's the 30th, okay? So I just wanted to clear that up as well. Yeah, let's get to the comment section. So, see what we got. So, DeMarco Williams starts us off tonight, and he says, I think we need to stay where we are at. Trading back would be nice, but I can't bear to see us passing on a generational talent, something we have not had since the great Sean Taylor. I couldn't agree more with that assessment, and that's pretty much why I don't want to move off of number 2. Got a call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Looks like we missed that call. And also, let me remind you, we're gonna try to keep these calls abbreviated. Want to get in as many calls as possible, as many comments as possible. So I'm gonna try to keep these calls to a minimum, all right? So next comment from HTTR for Life. He says, I'd love to see a guy like Greg Olsen come to the Redskins and mentor a tight end that we draft. Also, I think unless a team is willing to give us a ton of picks, we shouldn't trade back. Pick Chase. I think that's really the sentiment that I've gotten from most Redskins fans. Now, I've talked to enough, as I stated on that video, enough fans that think trading the number 2 pick is the best thing for this franchise moving forward. And ultimately, no one actually knows. We don't know if Chase Young's going to be all that we think he's cracked up to be. We don't know if a team is going to be willing to part ways with future assets and some in this particular draft as well, enough to satisfy the Redskins and moving out of the number 2 pick and justifying that action. But one thing's for certain. I would love to get a chance to see if Chase Young is what we think he's going to be here in Washington. If he's not, I would like us to find that out here in Washington. All right. If he is, I'd like to find that out here in Washington. I don't want to find that out elsewhere. All right. Don't want to find that out in Detroit. Don't want to find that out in New York or anywhere else. Here in Washington. If he is what we think he is, We want that to happen here. So, got a super chat. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. From my man, John Saluter. And John, appreciate the super chat as always. Thank you for blessing me with the super chat. He says, will the pod continue after the Super Bowl? I really need it too. LOL. Another review of an old draft would be great. Loved that episode. Yeah, the pod is going to be every single week, my man. It's not going to stop, John. And I'll tell you this much. I haven't had a throwback episode of the pod here in about, I'd say, a month. And I'm supposed to do one every month. Every third Friday of the month is supposed to be a throwback a pod or a flashback Friday pod. So I should have one of those in the works here shortly. And at your request, I'll go ahead and flash back to a review of an old draft. I'll take a look at one of the drafts that have happened in the past and kind of look back at it and kind of review it. So done. All right. Appreciate the super chat. And yes, the pods will continue. We'll have heavy content, draft content on the pods as well. I'll do a ton of draft content this year. The draft is going to be crazy on this channel this year in terms of the content. So stay tuned for that as well. Had a phone call, missed the call. So if you want to call in, continue to hit the line. Mo L says, what positions do you think Ron wants to target in free agency first? That I have no clue about. We don't even know what he feels about this roster. We don't know how he feels about the guys currently on the roster. We don't know what positions they think are the strengths of this team or the weaknesses. I think we know what they think the strength is. It's the front seven, I think. But we're not completely sure about that. So hard to really say what he's going to target in free agency. I think tight end is going to be pretty damn high on the list, though. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Yo, Louis, how are you doing, man? This is John.
What's going on, John? Doing well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yo, I'm not going to waste any time, right? I'm going to go right into it. So, first of all, let's talk about Greg Olsen. Mm-hmm. No, hell to the no.
Okay.
I don't want none of that.
Okay.
He's too. It's time for him to, retire. And I don't want an old, a retread from another team. No.
Okay.
So let's just cut that short. Cut it out. Now let's talk about the number 2 pick. Mm-hmm. Well, we all love Chase Young. Okay. To be very honest with you, I love Chase Young, and he's from Maryland. And like I said before, I know that he's very good friends with our quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, and they've always discussed about playing on the same team on the Redskins. Mm-hmm. So it will be something nice to see Maryland, kids from the same area play for the team that they actually love, because we know Chase Young is actually a Redskins fan. So it would be nice for us to, have him be a player here. But come on, man, don't tell me that you're not thinking about, everything that we could get from that. Remember the Cowboys, that the four Super Bowls or 3 Super Bowls they won? Mm-hmm. It's the draft picks. It's the number of picks you have that makes a team. It's not one player that makes a team. You can have one player and still not be that good. You understand? You can be good but not attain the Super Bowl. But with a lot of picks, because the draft is like a crapshoot, right? Mm-hmm. Any team, any player you get might be good or might not be good. You don't know who's going to be great. We don't know yet. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I think, and thanks for, taking my call, man.
Appreciate no problem. You. Hey, have a good one, man. Take care.
You too.
All right, so we got to talk about what John just brought up. So we talked about the premise of, more picks, more opportunities to throw darts at the dartboard to see how many you can get to stick. And while that premise is true, and he brought up the Cowboys, so let's talk about the Cowboys in the late 80s, early 90s under Jimmy Johnson, when Jimmy Johnson, and this is the thing that people misconstrue with that whole situation. He traded away Herschel Walker, which was one of the few, if the only really good player that they had on the team at the time, for a bunch of picks from Minnesota. But that wasn't the only trade that Jimmy Johnson made. He made a bunch of trades in a short period of time that helped speed up that process. Yes, Jimmy Johnson made a massive trade with the Vikings that helped them kind of jumpstart what would be the first of 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. However, you also got to pick really good players. There's got to be a little bit of luck involved. And oh, by the way, when you look at what the Cowboys were able to do, it was a different time back then. There wasn't any free agency. And so you could build a team into a winner in those times. This is different. All right. What the Redskins are embarking upon is a totally different time. It's a totally different situation. And again, when teams are trading back, you're not passing on a guy like Chase Young. All right. And as you mentioned, the draft is a crapshoot, which to me, you kind of furthered the point home that you should take Chase Young because he's less of a liability. He's more of a sure thing. There are no definites in the NFL. The closer you get to the top of the draft, the closer you get to a sure thing. The further away you get from a top 5 pick, the further away you get from a sure thing. So you make the case for the Redskins to not draft Chase Young, but then I think you make an even stronger case for them to draft Chase Young in that same comment. So I can get it from both sides. I understand, but I personally think that the move is to draft Chase Young 2nd overall, but you have to definitely take into consideration all options out there that are available to you. Pick up the phone, listen to every offer that is out there before you do make that decision. Got a super chat, gonna go ahead and read that from Blackskin HTTR. Thank you so much for the super chat, Blackskin HTTR. He says, draft Chase Young. Do y'all remember our 3rd down D? I mean, that's another huge part of the reason why it is imperative that we draft a guy like Chase Young. It makes the secondary better. It makes the defense better. There was a stat I saw this week on Twitter about Nick Bosa's arrival in San Francisco, what the 49ers' 3rd down defense was prior to Bosa and what it has been since they drafted him at number 2 overall. And the numbers are staggering. I hate to keep bringing up the 49ers and Nick Bosa, but that's the closest comparison we have to what the Redskins have done over the last 5 years and what the 49ers have done. The Redskins feel like they have the quarterback. The 49ers feel like they have the quarterback or had the quarterback going in to the season. 49ers spent a bunch of draft capital on the defensive line and on the defense in general. Redskins have done the same exact thing. And now you sit at the number 2 pick. 49ers sat at the number 2 pick. You're staring at an Ohio State defensive end that could change the game. They took theirs. Now we have a chance to take ours and see if we can get the same kind of impact and results. And so I hate to keep bringing that up, but yes, there is a parallel there between the two teams. We'll see if the Redskins do decide to pull the trigger on Chase Young or not. Thank you once again, Blackskin HTTR and John Saluter for the super chats. Got a phone call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Joe Rockhead.
Hey, what's going on, Joe?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm hanging tough, man.
All right. So when he hit the turn warning, try to get in this and get out. All right. First of all, we need immediate high impact players. I said this in one of the comment sections, but it's. I want some players on our team that other fans salivate over, as opposed to we don't really. Oh, he all right. They okay. Right. You know. I mean, when I play fantasy football, if I wasn't when I played, it's been a long time. Right. I'm only homering when I pick Redskins, not when I'm trying to get the best players available. Right. You dig? Right. I want some players that are just you put them on a poster, everybody wants it. Right. We haven't had that type of player since RG3 for that year. Yeah. But on defense, I don't remember when. I mean, well, of course we know Sean Taylor, and before that it was Dexter Manley. But I mean, it's been a while. I want somebody who just, changes the game. We have solids. We have a lot of solids. I just want someone that just punches in the mouth. The Ray Lewis of our team. The guy that's just like, we're afraid of him. We're worried about him. Yep. But I'm gonna let you go. Enjoy the show as always. And I'm gonna do a super chat when I'm not super broke. Catch you later,
Hey,
brother.
I appreciate you, Joe Rockhead, man. Have a good one. Oh man, look, I couldn't agree with him more, man. And I think that's what it all boils down to. At the end of the day, is I talked about this. We need more blue chip players. You call them what you want. High impact is what Joe Rockhead called him. Blue chip, whatever, man. We need game changers. Simple as that. We don't have enough. All right, and that's what it all boils down to. And he talked about the last guy prior to Sean Taylor on the defensive side is probably LeVar Arrington. But we don't have them. Listen to what I just said. All right, we don't have them very often. Sean Taylor was drafted back in the 2004 draft, along with Chris Cooley. I believe that was the 04 draft. LeVar Arrington was drafted in the 1999 draft, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this is how far back we have to go. You're talking well over a decade the last time we drafted that kind of impact player. It's time for that to stop. We have to get guys that move the needle, not 3 or 4 guys that barely move the needle. We got to get guys that take the needle from here and take it over this way. Not a bunch of guys that just incremental gains and moving the needle barely. All right? Let's get a guy that can switch it over and give the Redskins a real legitimate shot to do damage. So let's check and see if we got any super chats. If not, we'll go to the phone lines. All right. Got a phone call. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louis, what's going on? It's JP. How you doing?
I'm doing well, JP. What about yourself?
Not so well, man. I'm honestly still hurting over Kobe's passing.
Yeah, man. I hear you.
It hurts. I'm not going to try to turn this into a Lakers show, but man, it just hurts, you know.
Yeah, I did a podcast on it, so I definitely understand, you know, the situation at hand and the emotions that have come with that. So, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway. So I missed your show last week. I was driving up to Newark to see a friend, so thought I'd make it. I'm not sure how many more of these you're going to have before the season's over, so trying to get into as many of these as possible.
All right.
So I want to talk a little bit about Greg Olsen. I think you and I had this conversation about a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't mind having Greg Olsen on the team. It's just he's got injuries and he's old. I've heard that he may want to go into broadcasting, but he's going to keep all his options open. But do you agree or disagree that it would not surprise either you or I or Redskins fans everywhere if Ron Rivera brought Greg Olsen to Washington?
Not one bit. It wouldn't shock me. As a matter of fact, I just did a video on it saying that, you know, initially I was like, nah, man, I'm good. He's 34. His body is breaking down on him and doesn't have a lot left in the tank. But I think we've talked over the last few weeks about the Redskins needing to not add just one, but maybe even 2 tight ends this offseason. And I wouldn't, and, you know, I sat and I thought and I said, I wouldn't really be that opposed to one of them being Greg Olsen as a mentor to a young guy that we draft. Because I don't think we're going to hit it big. I think a lot of Redskins fans have talked themselves into this romance of getting Austin Hooper or Hunter Henry or one of these guys in free agency. And I honestly don't see that taking place. And so, you know, I think the best outcome would be draft a young guy and have Greg Olsen mentor that young player. And hopefully, you know, Greg gives us a solid year, maybe 2. And by the time he's done, that player has learned and soaked up as much as he can from one of the better tight ends we've had in the league for the last 7 years. And now he's ready to perform at a high level for us. And that's, I'm hoping that's the kind of situation that may unfold here if the Redskins do decide. And honestly, Greg has to want to come here too. I think that's the bigger thing that we have to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, maybe he would probably want to go back to Chicago where he began his career. I thought that was a dumb move for them to get rid of him. But if we don't land, I wouldn't be surprised if we landed Greg Olsen. But I think we have a little bit of a slightly better chance to land Hunter Henry because I'm sure you probably have heard this by now, but the Chargers have officially moved on from Phillip Rivers after 16 seasons, and they don't have anybody to throw Hunter Henry the ball to, and they're just basically left in the dust without a quarterback. So maybe Hunter Henry will want to come. Maybe he'll want to, get the ball from Haskins. Maybe Austin Hooper. I'm not sure how many free agents are going to be out there available for us because we don't know what AJ Green's status is, with whether he's going to stay in Cincinnati or not, or he's going to leave. But there's a lot of options. I know we're going to end up. I think we're going to end up with 2 tight ends, one in free agency, one via the draft. But and regarding the number 2 pick, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to adding more players, but I want the immediate impact day one guy which is Chase Young, because you don't know what these picks are going to be. What if they turn out to be a bunch of scrub players and they don't, turn out to be so good? That's the only thing that worries me the most. I'd much rather go out and get the guy that I know is going to make an immediate impact day one in Chase Young. And even though that he's a rookie, we don't know if he's gonna. Even we don't know how good Chase Young is going to be, but I still think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to be an all-pro, something that this franchise hasn't had in so long, since probably Sean Taylor, maybe going back to Dexter Manley in the 80s, and Charles Mann and LeVar Arrington and London Fletcher and Sean Taylor, of course, and guys of that nature. I would much rather have Chase Young than take a gamble on acquiring picks that we don't know are going to turn out to be any good. That's just my opinion.
And I couldn't agree with you more, JP. I mean, you could look at it, either way. You could say, well, we don't know if Chase Young's going to be as good as we think he is going to be, and those players that you speak of could end up being really good. I mean, you could draft a Terry McLaurin, you know what I mean? But the odds of that happening versus Chase Young becoming a dominant force in this league are a lot less. You're more likely to see Young turn into an all-pro stud than you are, the Redskins getting, let's say they get 2 number ones, they swap a 1, they get 2 additional 1s, and they get 2 2s and 2 3s from whatever team. And I doubt that's the package, but and they're less likely to get, one of those 2 1s, 2 of those 1s to turn out to be A players, one of those 2s to be an A player, and either of the 3s to be an A player. It's highly unlikely that that's going to happen, more so than Chase Young going to be an A player. So I think you roll the dice, you give yourself more opportunities. That's 7 players to get an A, but are you going to get one of those players to be an A at one of the premier positions in the sport? To me, it's quarterback 1, it's pass rusher 2. If none of those guys, 7 guys, are an elite pass rusher, then you messed up. Simple as that.
Exactly.
So,
but yeah, I mean, we end up trading and we end up getting a whole bunch of picks, and maybe a couple guys turn out to be good. But again, we don't know what this team's going to do. And one more thing I want to have for you before I let you get to the other callers. A lot of people are still the jury. Some people believe that the jury is still out on Dwayne Haskins. I've told people multiple times that I was on board with drafting Haskins, even though I 100% understood that he was going to be a project, and we knew that it was going to take time for him to be great. And some fans, I've heard over these last couple of weeks that some fans that they don't want, that they're thinking about trading Haskins and going out and getting Tua. Like, what the hell are these people on? Are you serious right now?
hey,
We don't even know if Tua's going to be any good given his injury history. Why not just give Dwayne Haskins a chance? Let him work with this new coaching staff, see what he can do. And
JP, you can't get worked up over that stuff, man. Hey, I'm gonna let you run. I'm gonna take the rest of that comment off the air, though. I appreciate you, man.
all right, thanks, man. I'll try to get back on.
Yep. So to the people that don't believe in Dwayne Haskins, they have every right not to. Like, don't waste energy arguing with them. There's no right or wrong answer to that right now. The jury should still be out on Dwayne Haskins. I'm not a huge fan of moving on from him after one season. That's insane to me. Doesn't have enough NFL starts under his belt for you to be able to determine that he's either really good or really bad. We saw what happened last year or 2 years ago with Baker Mayfield. Oh, everybody was going crazy on Baker Mayfield. He played really well to finish up the Browns season in his rookie year. Look what he did in year 2. All right. You have to pipe down on these guys. Give them an opportunity. And I'm not saying that Baker Mayfield is horrible. Let's see what he does in year 3 under Kevin Stefanski now. You got to give guys an opportunity. Only time is going to be able to tell with Dwayne Haskins. And so the people that think he's not any good and they need to move on from him, and the people that think he is the guy and they got to give him a chance, everyone has a right to their opinion. But again, only time is going to really determine what this guy is going to be in this league. So for me, I just feel like you have to just give him an opportunity to do what we drafted him to do, and that's be the starting quarterback of the Washington Redskins. So I'm looking forward to seeing that take place. But got another super chat. Got 2 super chats, actually, so I'm going to go ahead and read those. The first from Farrah Cody. Thank you for the super chat, Farrah Cody. Farrah says, how much better do you think Young is than Montez? I don't even think it's close. For one, I feel like Ohio State pass rushers are fundamentally much more sound than most guys coming into the league. They use their hands extremely well. They have great footwork. They know how to set tackles up. So I think those guys come in at a distinct advantage from other pass rushers, unless you have an innate ability or you're really coached really well. And I just feel like the Ohio State pass rushers are coached up really well. That being said, the amount of talent that Chase Young has compared to a Montez Sweat, to me, is off the charts. Like, Sweat, to me, it was more of a raw guy that you saw with all the tools to become a really good pass rusher in this league, but he really needed to be coached well. But the stuff that he has, you can't teach. The long arms, the huge strides that eat up a bunch of yards and space, the 6'6" height, like that kind of stuff you can't teach. Either you have it or you don't. You can't teach 4.4 speed. You can't teach explosiveness. He has all of those things. But I don't think he was ever, and I said this when he came out, he wasn't a finished product. He wasn't polished. He needed work. Chase Young is polished. Not to say he can't get better, but he's a polished product. He comes in day one, and he's a problem right off the bat. He can use his hands. He has a spin move. He has a hard outside, back inside. He has a full gamut and spectrum of moves that he can come in day one and use to get to the quarterback. Montez Sweat didn't have that. And so I think it's really like there's a light years amount of distance between Sweat and Young. And in terms of off of pure ability right now, Young is light years ahead of Sweat. Not to say that Sweat doesn't have the kind of ability that will ultimately allow him to flourish and be an impact player in this league, but Young is different. No one was ever talking about Montez Sweat as a top 5 pick. People, after he ran at the combine, were talking about him as a potential top 10 pick. And that was prior to the heart stuff, but he was never looked upon as a top 5. Chase Young, if not for elite quarterbacks in this draft, he'd be the number 1 overall draft pick. Okay? And on a lot of people's board, including Cincinnati, he's probably the number 1 prospect in this draft. Unfortunately, they need a quarterback. And if the gap isn't that great between the quarterback that you need and the pass rusher that you'd like to have, you got to take the quarterback. So I think it's a big difference, a big gap between the two. Not to diminish Montez Sweat, but that's how good Chase Young is, in my opinion. Got another super chat. This one from HTTR for Life. Appreciate the super chat, HTTR for Life. Appreciate the super chat once again, Farrah Cody, and all those who have supported in the show. He says, always supporting the show. Looking forward to the podcast. Thanks for being here reporting on the Redskins, even on the 3-13 season. Hashtag HTTR. Not going anywhere, man. Come hella high water. I've been here through the bad. I've been here through the 4-12s and the Mike Shanahans and the bickering back and forth. I've been here through the Bruce Allens and the Vinny Serratos. I've been here. Not going anywhere. If I haven't been scared off by now, then I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not going anywhere. So I appreciate you supporting, super chatting, and being here because you've been here as well. So thank you for your participation as well. So that being said, let's get back to the chat. And got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louis T. This is Al Dunn from Spokane, Washington, Atlanta, the Sea Chickens.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, nothing much, man. I enjoy the show. Want to get right into it.
Yep.
Greg Olsen, I really don't like the probability of him maybe coming here. He's 34 years old. Mm-hmm. He's injury prone, unfortunately. And how many times have we've been doing this for the last few years with an injury prone tight end with Jordan Reed. So I think we just need to look elsewhere with Greg Olsen. I think he's a great guy. He played at the U. That's the team that I root for in college football. But yeah, I think he would be a quality player right now with what we're trying to do. Chase Young, man, I think Chase Young is like 2000 J-Lo, man. If she comes out in the crowd and says, hey, I want you, you don't worry about what's going on in your life. If God gives you that lightning strike, you just pick that once-in-a-generation player and do what you got to do. I really think that Chase Young could possibly be, I don't want to say the next Lawrence Taylor because that's kind of blasphemy, but one of those game changers on defense that we currently don't have.
Right.
I know Landon Collins is good. I know Jonathan Allen is good. I know Ioannidis, those guys are good. But we don't have that one player on defense that keeps the offensive coordinator up all night saying, how are we going to block this guy? And I really think Chase Young has that type of talent. The last thing I want to say is Ron Rivera, I think he has a plan. I know he has a plan. I just hope the Redskin Nation isn't so heads up in the clouds that we think we're going to turn this around and go 13-3 next year.
Right.
I think we're about maybe a year, 2 years away from really competing. I don't think we need to give up on Dwayne Haskins. To your point, I do think the question marks are still there for him. But if we have a rookie quarterback on that rookie contract, I really think we need to just try to build that team around him and see what we have. Look what San Francisco did last year. I think they picked number 2 in the draft, and now they're in the Super Bowl. Not saying that can happen to us, but, hey, it's the NFL, man. Stranger things have happened. Nobody in our division scares me. You know, Dallas is overrated. The Giants suck. Philadelphia, yeah, they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but they're not, Reggie White-led Philadelphia Eagles. So I really think we have a shot next year, but we just got to remain patient. And trust me, it's been a long time. Some of your previous callers are mentioning names like Dexter Manley and Charles Mann. Unfortunately, man, that was 40 years ago. That's how deprived we've been of having impact players on defense other than, the late, great Sean Taylor. Yeah. So anyway, man, I appreciate your show up here in Seahawk land. Your show just gives me life, man. Seriously,
appreciate life.
And rest in peace, Kobe, and to all the ones that died on that tragic plane. Helicopter crash. Yeah. Appreciate you, Louis T.
Yep.
And I'll see you on the other side, man.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate the call. And that was a funny call. That was a good call. That was a funny call. I want to touch on a couple of things he said. So one, and I do have a super chat. I'm gonna get to that here in a second from Vincent Cole. Appreciate the super chat. He talked about how far back that some of the callers have went, in terms of referencing big time defensive players on this team. Look, we've been bad on defense, but you don't have to go that far back to get to like I said. Obviously, there's Sean Taylor, and I don't want to keep harping on Sean Taylor because it was very brief. You know, he wasn't in the NFL very long. His career was cut short tragically. LeVar Arrington for a brief second there. Don't forget about him. Look, that first year under Joe Gibbs, that first playoff year under Joe Gibbs, I should say, that second year when he came back, that 05 defense was really good. I don't know if you guys remember. The offense wasn't all that great. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And by the end of that season, we had guys like Taylor Jacobs and David Patton, and Mark Brunell could barely throw a slant. He had an injury at the end of that season. And we went into Tampa Bay and we won a game in which I think Brunell had 47 yards passes, some ridiculous number like that. I think we had the least amount of total yards offensively in a playoff win in NFL history at the time of that win in Tampa Bay. Coincidentally enough, that was our last playoff win, unfortunately for us. And that was all the way back in 05. So we've had good, solid defenses, all right? But we haven't had a ton of elite players. That's what the point that people are trying to make. You don't have to go all the way back to the 80s and the early 90s to find those guys. We've had guys more recent than that, but it's just been so long in Washington. So, and I get it. Totally get it. And I think another great point he made was, look, don't look for 13-3 next year. Like, I'm hoping for that, but don't look for that. That shouldn't be what you have your mind set on. And because if that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to end up disappointed. Go into next season with realistic expectations. Again, hope for the best, but expect something like 7-9, 8-8. And if you get that and you see this team trending in the right direction and there's a culture change, you should feel really good about that. You should be really, really happy that we're trending in the right direction and we're trying to build off of something. So, anyhow, let's get to this super chat. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. He says, any potential round 3 or 4 receivers fit your skins? Yeah, there's a ton of guys. Here's the thing. We don't know what exactly the Redskins are looking for. Are they looking for a receiver with size? We really don't have that right now. We still, and I know, like, you got Sims. Like, come off of that. Until he actually does something, until he's actually active for more than 3 or 4 games in a season, and he actually does something. I like Cam Sims. I don't love Cam Sims, okay? So until he starts to produce at a high level, we don't have a guy with true size on this team. You know, Kelvin Harmon is as big as we got. And he's solid. He's a solid size receiver, but, you know, maybe they're looking for a guy with size. Maybe they're looking for another home run threat. Maybe they're looking for another guy with wheels. Because if something were to happen, God forbid, something happens to Terry McLaurin, who else can stretch the football field vertically? You can't count on Paul Richardson these days. He can't stay healthy. Then you become a one-dimensional offense. Obviously, you have Steven Sims, and he can run, but maybe they want another guy that can stretch the field vertically. Maybe they want a combination of the two, a guy that has a little bit of size and can run, and can 50-50 high point the football. I don't know. But they're going to be, this is a deep draft, as I've mentioned before. You know, there are going to be some receivers available and that can help you, you know, in the 3rd and the 4th round of this draft. And so we'll get into that as, you know, we get a little bit deeper into our draft coverage and I get to watch more because there may even be more receivers. I just know I've kind of just peeled back a layer or two of the receivers. You know, that's my favorite position to examine. There are going to be so many more guys available in this draft that we're not even talking about. Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State is a guy that's probably going to end up, you know, rising up draft boards. We'll see where he ends up. There was a guy, Michael Pittman Jr., that was really good at the Senior Bowl, had a really strong week of practices at the Senior Bowl. That was a guy that was on my radar as a potential mid-round pick that with the way he's performing, you know, in the extracurricular games and activities, if he has a strong combine, he may be a second-round pick instead of a third-round pick. But those are the kind of guys that I'm thinking about right off the top of my head right now. But there are going to be so many receivers that go in the first round that I think there will be a little bit of a drop-off in the second round. And then I think you'll come back and see 3, 4, 5 guys come off the board in the third round or so. But I think you're going to see every bit of 7 receivers go in the first round. And if that is in fact the case, then I think you'll see less go in the second, and then I think you'll see it pick back up in the third, possibly fourth rounds. So in any event, let's get to the phone lines. There is not a call at this very moment. And skip to the comment section then. So Meest703 says, I think the only 2 trade partners we should even entertain are the Lions and the Dolphins. Lions have no business trading up to number 2 unless they want to move on from Matthew Stafford. If I'm the Redskins, I'm not allowing a team to come up and draft Chase Young. I'm not trading back. Like, if it's the Lions, the only way I'm coming out of 2 is if you tell me I'm coming up to get a quarterback. There's no way I'm going to trade back to 3 and still not get Chase Young. So the Lions is cool, but they don't need a quarterback. If the Lions were desperately in need of a QB, yeah, that would be the perfect scenario would be to trade back 1 spot, get a bunch of picks, and still get Chase Young. That's not happening. The Dolphins are another team that you think, if the Bengals go with Joe Burrow, which I think is the most likely scenario, then, the Dolphins 2 at 5, at 2 coming up from 5 to me seems like the most logical team. But, don't discount the Chargers. Don't discount teams like that could be desperate enough to come up and give you everything you're looking for and then some to get their guy. And they may evaluate Tua and they may feel like this is the guy right here. We got to have him. What do you want for him? Now, you're moving back a ways if you do that. You're moving back a nice ways, and you're not going to end up with one of those quote-unquote elite prospects, and that's the problem. And in there lies your problem. If you move back too far, you're going to miss out on these elite prospects, and you're going to end up with a guy that could be elite, but he's more likely than not going to be solid, not elite. So, and again, it's a crapshoot, as one of the callers said earlier. The 32nd pick in the draft could end up being better than the 2nd pick in the draft. That's how the draft works. All right. So there's that. Anyhow, got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Louis T, man. This is your boy, Blackskin HTTR.
Hey, what's going on, man? Once again, thanks for the super chat.
Oh, yeah, all the time, bro, all the time. I want to get to a couple of points, man. What you think about us getting that boy Njoku from Cleveland, man? What do you think about that?
I'm not opposed to that. Look, he was a freak coming out of Miami, and we all thought that this guy is dripping and oozing with talent. And if given, put in the right situation, and I thought he was raw, though. I felt like he needed to develop. There are some flaws in his game. His hands are not A1 official. There are drops in there from time to time.
Definitely facts.
But the guy is a physical specimen. You won't find many tight ends more athletically gifted in the league than him. And we talked about guys being injured, and we don't want to go, well, he spent most of last season injured. Like, that's been part of his MO since he's got in the league, is he hasn't always been able to stay healthy, whether it's his neck or his hand or, a hamstring. And guys like him, it's not uncommon for them to have, a hamstring injury or some kind of soft tissue injury because they're tightly wound athletes. And so those guys are more likely to suffer those types of injuries. So I to answer your question, though, in short form, love Njoku, would not mind him at all being on this roster.
All right. And one more thing, man. I said before, you already read the super chat, man. Got to get Chase Young to get that pressure on the quarterbacks. That third down defense was horrendous.
Yep.
And also, one more, That the Greg Olsen thing, man. We got to put that to bed, man. We already got somebody like that in Vernon Davis, so I don't know why we even considering. That's like this, basically the same thing. He's a veteran. He's aging. He's had his prime going. It's already past his prime. So, I mean, I'm kind of dead on that one, man.
Okay. You know what? Hey, I appreciate the call, man. Take care.
All the time, bro.
Yep.
Yep.
Good luck. So I feel this trend forming on Greg Olsen, and a lot of you are like, nah, I'm good. You know, he's old. He's been injured. So this is my angle here. And a lot of you just keep hearkening back to, hey, been there, done that, got old guy on the roster already in Vernon Davis. Well, you know he's going to be cut. You need a veteran presence. You need a guy that, even if Greg isn't still producing, and I still think he can produce at a high enough level. It's not like, so let me just throw this out there. He had over 500 yards receiving last year. Did any Redskins tight end even approach that last season? Did the Redskins tight end group as a whole produce 500 yards receiving? We say that this guy is old and he's this and he's that. He's still performing at a high enough level that he's not useless, not to mention the value that he adds as a veteran in the locker room. And, oh, by the way, if we draft a young tight end, don't you think he needs to be mentored? I just think it's so many different things that he brings to the table. I think signing a guy like Greg Olsen has plenty of nutritional value. You turn Greg Olsen over and you look on the back and you look at the nutritional value, and there's some pretty good shit up here, man. It's a lot of protein right there. I mean, this is some good iron content right here, man. No trans fat, all right? None of the nasty shit, none of the bad shit for you. This is some good stuff. Now, look, there's not a lot of antioxidants, all right? Not a lot of the things that are necessarily good for your body in terms of, you know, that kind of stuff. But there's some vitamin B and some zinc and some protein and some iron. All right, there's some good stuff in here. It's not trash. You guys are acting like he's a honey bun, and there's nothing good here. Like, there's some good stuff here. So I get it. He's old. I get it. Old guys can still play in this league. And I think he's one of them. But I understand your point. I get it. And I once, too, thought that way. Remember, just 3 weeks ago or so, I think my man JP was the one that brought it to the show. And he called in, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on him. And then I sat back and I thought, well, we need 2 tight ends. Why not one of them be a veteran that can show a young guy the ropes? And we want to change the culture? What better guy to come in and help do that than Greg Olsen? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's check for any super chats. No super chats, so let's get to the comment section. What up, Spaz Out? Trey. And Extra Squaw says, I think we should take Chase Young if he's there, but in a hypothetical situation, if the Bengals take Chase Young, do you take Isaiah Simmons or trade back? Nah. I already told you. There's only one of 2 scenarios at number 2. All right? There's only one of 2 scenarios. All right? You either trade out of 2. If Chase Young is not there, you trade. There is no taking a player. There is no taking solace in, oh, we got Isaiah Simmons. No. You either get Chase Young at 2 or you trade out of number 2. Either way, you're going to have value there. Period. There is no other discussion to be had. There is not another player in this draft I want the Redskins selecting at number 2. I don't want to select Joe Burrow. I don't want to select Tua Tagovailoa. I don't want to select Isaiah Simmons. I don't want to select Jeffrey Okudah. I don't want to select Jerry Jeudy. Nobody else at 2. If it's a player, it's Chase Young. If it's not Chase Young, trade. Period. That's what I want to do. Anyway, got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, this is DMV fan 123.
What's going on, man?
Oh, I'm good. It's only my second time calling. I saw a gap, so I had to come take it.
Glad you did, man. Talk to us.
So just going to touch on a little Greg Olsen and then the Chase Young, and that's it. Greg Olson, I don't think he's even going to want to come here.
Yeah.
We're rebuilding. I don't think he has much time left.
Right.
His body's already broken down, and
Yep.
we're rebuilding. So
Yep.
I think a veteran presence is going to have to come from somewhere else with this position.
Yep. I think you're absolutely right. I think I mentioned that on my video. Like, he may want to go somewhere like a New England. I think they were missing that tight end presence, and I think they would love to have a veteran like a Greg Olson. So, and I think he's at this point he wants to chase a ring. You know what I mean? That's the one thing he hasn't had an opportunity to get, and I think he wants to try and do that if he does come back. So I think you're spot on there.
And yeah, so gonna touch on the draft. Even if we were to move down from number 2, the trade down scenarios the players would get, I don't think they'll really move the needle for me. So let's say we get 5, and best case scenario like 18 and then 26, all 3 picks from the Dolphins, right? So maybe we get Jeffrey Okuda, all right? He has Pro Bowl potential, and then Henry Ruggs, right? Like he's a great player too, but 26, we're getting a running back. No, we're getting an offensive tackle if Trent comes back. No, so. Those don't really move the needle for me as much as a generational pass rusher.
Right. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and the only people that I see really downplaying Chase are Redskins fans that are so traumatized they don't know what a truly A-plus pass rusher looks like, and they're so traumatized that they don't want him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then Giants fans who are so salty that they won that useless game in Week 16,
right,
that they're laughing through the pain and saying, oh, man, he's not going to be that good.
Right. Yeah, you're so spot on, man. Like, I don't know of any other fan base in the league that's like, we don't want Chase Young. Like, I don't know, man. Like you said, we're traumatized. That's all it is that, we've been through so much. I've said this numerous times. A lot of Redskins fans don't even know if they're coming or going at this point, man. Like, we've been through so much. And we've been beaten up so bad that we don't even know when talent is staring us right in the face. So it's funny to hear you say that, but it's so true, man. Hey, DMV fan 123, man. Appreciate you calling in. Have a good one, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, we're the only fan base, and I could be wrong. There could be fans out there from other teams that are like, Chase Young, Mace Young, he's not all that. I just don't see it, man. Everyone seems to be like, man, I'd kill to have Chase Young. Obviously, you're saying that if you're drafting 18th overall. Obviously you're saying that if you're in the back end of the first round, but I don't know of too many fan bases that wouldn't welcome a guy like Chase Young with open arms. And yet you've got a lot of Redskins. And the vast majority of Redskins fans want Chase Young. I don't want to make it seem like, this is a Kirk Cousins situation where the loud, part of the fan base, which is usually the minority, but the loud portion are the ones talking about how, bad Kirk is and he can't play and this, that, and the third. I think it's far more Redskins fans that want Chase Young, but there are a few out there that are like, yo, we need to trade. Chase Young isn't all that. Well, we'll see. Only time will tell. We'll see, but I got another super chat. Gonna take that. Hey, really appreciate the super chat. This one from Josh Kirby. And he says, great work. Appreciate everything you do for the viewers. #HTTR. Josh, greatly appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much for your super chat. And thank you for your viewership and your participation, man. And so I'm going to continue to grind. and chop it up with you guys. And I hope to continue to chop it up with viewers like you in the future. Once again, thank you for your super chat, Josh Kirby. Got a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take that. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Rayvon, man, from D.C., man. Rayvon from D.C., Louis.
What's going on?
Hello?
I'm here. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, Redskins fan to death, man. For like 20-something years, I'm 32, man. Just tell me some hope, man, because I'm losing it slowly but surely, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the defense, I'm just glad we got everybody out of there, man. I just need some hope, man. Give me some hope.
All right, look, man. This offseason provided you with the hope that you need to just hang in there. Now,
Yeah.
this season, you want to see improvement, but I'm not adverse to the Redskins being, 6-10, 7-9 again. It's how they look in doing it. Are we more disciplined? Are we not committing stupid penalties? Are we in ball games with a chance to win? Does Dwayne Haskins look like he's taking a step in the right direction? Do we have young players that we think, look, man, these guys are on the cusp. If we could just get, this position or that position, or if this guy takes a huge step next year, I want to see this team progress. And I'm not here to set the bar extremely low. That's not what I'm looking to do. But what I am saying is you have to be a realistic fan with realistic expectations. And to think that you're going to turn a 3-13 team into, a 13-3 team is unrealistic. It could happen. We've seen it happen in this league, but it's not likely. So you should have hope because Bruce isn't here, because Dan seems to have taken a step back. You know what I mean? Like, there's reason to be hopeful and optimistic, but right now there's a lot of unknown, and unknown scares a lot of people. But for us, because we've been beaten down so badly, I think any kind of change is welcome, and so I'm excited. I'm excited. Cautious optimism is what I've said all along. I'm gonna keep it that way.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I'll be watching your thing, man. I'll be watching your podcast, man. It's my first time calling, man. Keep doing your thing, man. I'm proud of you, man.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.
Okay, you too.
So, for me, and I know a lot of you out there are optimistic as well. Cautious optimism, guys. That's what I'm going to continue to promote, and that's what I'm going to continue to showcase here on these shows. Is cautious optimism. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, and I'm not going to project things out, but I'm excited. I am. I'm excited for the future for the first time in a long time. Got another super chat. Going to go ahead and read that. This one from my man, Andrew Thompson. As always, Andrew, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your participation and your gratitude, man. Thank you again, Andrew Thompson, for the super chat. And he writes, don't want 2 or 3 B players. We've seen B players, okay? B players get us 8 wins. We need A+ elite talent. Draft young. Time to start thinking big. Couldn't have said it better myself, and I think I've said something to that effect on the video earlier today, that at some point you got to stop thinking about, throwing a bunch of darts at the dartboard. Like, if we're throwing darts, wouldn't you rather just throw one dart and hit the bullseye than to give you 8 darts and you just start firing away? Like, I just want one dart that hits the bullseye instead of me getting 8 opportunities to hit the dartboard, to hit the bullseye 8 times. And you're probably going to miss. If you give me one dart and you tell me that one dart has a really good chance of hitting the bullseye, and then you give me a bunch of other darts and say, hey, look, any of these could hit the bullseye, but none of these are going to be as likely to hit the bullseye, but they could, I'm good. All right. You know what I mean? It's almost like Hey, look, man. Behind door number 1 is a new car. Behind door number 2 could be a new car, could be a great vacation, could be $1 million. Now, behind door number 1 is a new car. I can assure you that. I don't know what's behind door number 2. You more than welcome to find out. I'm good. I'll take the new car. All right? I'll take the new car. Because behind door number 2 could be a sack of shit. I don't want that. It could be $1 million. Could also be a sack of shit. I'm good. I'll take the new car behind door number 1. So that's my stance. I'm with Andrew. Andrew's like, look, man, okay, we've been doing the B player thing for quite a while now. All right, we've gotten actually pretty good at that. We got a bunch of B players on this football team right now, as it currently stands. Now, they could ascend to A players, but right now they're B players. To me, Jonathan Allen's a B player. To me, Daron Payne looks like a B player. He could evolve into an A. And I think what we're going to find out now with this scheme switch is that guys were playing out of position and they weren't being utilized to the best of their abilities. And now we may see an uptick in production from some of these guys. And you may see a Daron Payne take a massive leap in year 3. All right? But right now he looks like a B player to me. All right? I look around. Could Dunny be an A player? Sure he could, if he can stay healthy. Right now he's a B player. You know, we specialize in B players. McLaurin looks like an A. We'll see. We'll see if he's an A. Cole Holcomb looks like he has the potential to be a B. So does Kelvin Harmon. Can we get some more A's, though? Can we get some A-plus elite type talent? That's what wins you games in this league. We don't have enough of that. We don't have enough of that. All right. So, great super chat there. All of them have been great. That was a really good one from Andrew Thompson. And so, no more super chats. We go back to the comment section. I actually got a call coming in. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Louis JP again? Don't I go on the second time?
All right.
Listen, I got a name for you, a draft name I want to drop for you. I want to know if you're interested. Thaddeus Moss, tight end out of LSU.
Yeah, you're
talking about Randy Moss.
Randy Moss's son. Yeah, he's solid. He isn't a great athlete. He's a solid athlete. I don't know what he is as a blocker. That's where the tape will, start to tell the story. I would assume he's not a great blocker because they didn't use him in that capacity a ton at LSU. They usually flexed him out. There were a lot of empty sets, and he would be out wide. So I'd have to watch him, a little bit. But I think he's going to be a mid to late round draft choice. And again, I wouldn't be opposed to him coming in here because he's probably going to have a chip on his shoulder. And I know he can catch the football. Saw him do it a ton at LSU, so I know he's very capable of doing that. My question is he a blocker at all? We've seen this offense, and we know that you have to have guys that can block at the tight end position, at least somewhat. Like we have guys that were incapable of blocking a defender in front of them. And so, I mean, and even on backside plays where you're like, dude, all you have to do is just get in the way. You don't even have to do, and they're getting holding penalties. Like, we can't have that moving forward. So I'd have to watch the tape, but I know that he's capable of playing in this league. There is a niche he can carve out for himself in this league as a Charles Clay type of tight end, if nothing else.
Yeah, I like him. As you know, I'm a Tigers fan. I had a chance to watch a lot of him this season. He played great in the SEC. He played well in the SEC championship. He played well in the playoff game against Oklahoma, as we know. Mm-hmm. He played fantastic in the national championship. Go Tigers! We won it all. Happy as hell. But yeah, I wouldn't mind getting Moss maybe in the fourth, maybe fifth round if he's still sitting on the board. I think he'll still be on the board at that point. I also got a couple of other names for you. I have another tight end name. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up. Here it is. I got two names, actually. One, tight end Jacob Breland out of Oregon, and KJ Hill, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I know Haskins has
offense. Do you think either one of those guys will be there? Maybe somewhere in the third, fourth round somewhere. I know KJ Hill is probably going no higher than maybe third, maybe second if someone really, really, really wants him or is reaching for a receiver.
It'll be interesting. He had a strong week at the Senior Bowl. His route running is top notch. That's going to be his calling card at the next level. His ability to separate with route running. I don't know where he is in the speed department. I don't think he is a legit 4.4 guy. I think he'll be in that 4.52, and that's not that far off. Let's not act like 4.52 isn't plenty fast in this league. But I don't think he's a burner by any stretch of the imagination. But what he lacks in speed, I think he does make up with quickness and route running ability. He's another one of those 6-foot type of receivers, so not overly big. So I don't know what kind of receiver the Redskins are looking for. Again, in terms of Jacob Breland, he's a tight end out of Oregon, coming off of a injury this season. So he's a guy that I want to see what he looks like, just from an athletic standpoint. I remember 2 years ago, I was really impressed by him. He can catch the football. Again, got to watch more tape on him in terms of what he does in the blocking department. I think he's solid there. I don't know if he's, a guy that is a dual threat tight end, but I do know in terms of pass catching, he can catch the football. So where is he athletically? How does he look coming off of a major injury? And for KJ Hill, undersized receiver, not a burner, much quicker than fast. We'll see what happens. And in terms of either one of those guys landing in Washington, we'll see what happens. Got to see what the Redskins decide to do in free agency, obviously first. But we didn't know about McLaurin, or at least we didn't think he would be what he turned out to be. And then look what he's done. The one thing McLaurin has that Hill doesn't, to me, is that kind of speed. So we'll see what happens with both of those guys. But, hey, JP, appreciate the phone call, man.
Hey, man, hey, no problem. Oh, listen. Never mind. I'll probably get on one more time before the show's over. But thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt. Go Tigers.
Yep.
Got another super chat. Gonna go ahead and read that. This one is from Andrew Thompson again. My man Andrew coming in the clutch. Appreciate you once again, Andrew Thompson. Thank you. Andrew writes, thanks for all your time and effort, Lou. How has Greg Olsen been as a blocker? I've never really followed him. If he can't block, then I'm not interested. He actually can block. And that's the thing that I'm saying is that he still does everything at a serviceable level. He is a quality blocker. He is a solid route runner. He still can get open in this league. And so, again, as DMV fan 123 pretty much eloquently put it, I don't think he's going to want to come here. The only connection and the only reason that I even brought it up is because of Ron Rivera. If he comes here, it's out of respect for Ron Rivera. Maybe Rivera is able to sell him on the fact that they could turn this thing around a lot faster than other people think. And I think one of the other callers said, look, I'm not afraid of this division. And he's right. This was the worst division in football this year. All right? This was a horrible division. So I'm not saying it's going to be terrible again next year. It may be much better next year. It may be the best division next year. Who knows? But if you're just going off of the last thing we saw, right? This division isn't all that great. So what's stopping the Redskins from going 11-5 and winning the division next year? Now, again, I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm just hypothetically speaking. Ron may be able, and I'm just telling you what Ron could be talking to Greg about. Hey, look, man, we feel like we got the team. You saw Dwayne Haskins up close and personal last year when he came to Carolina and they beat us. He played well. We think we got a quarterback. We love this defense. We brought in Jack Del Rio wherever he goes. great defense follows. We really think we got a really good group of solid, quality, skill players. We add you to the mix as a veteran to provide leadership for this group, and no telling where this team can go. He may be able to sell him on that. More likely than not, Greg's not trying to hear that. Greg looks at 3-13 and says, nah, I don't want to be a part of that, man. I mean, I'm in the twilight years of my career. I'm trying to win a chip. That's the only way I'm coming back. So, but to your point, Greg Olsen, for me, can block, can still catch it at a high level. There's a lot more good than bad with Greg Olsen. For me, Andrew. So that's where I'm at with Greg. Got another super chat, though. Want to read that. This one from Black Skin HTTR. Yet again, thank you so much for doubling up on the super chats. Much like Andrew Thompson, thank you for doubling up on your super chat. Black Skin HTTR. Appreciate it greatly. He says, Louis, I forgot in free agency, would you like to see us go after cornerback Byron Jones? I think he will be the odd man out. Not saying, I'm just saying LOL HTTR. So, Byron Jones, of course, for those of you who aren't familiar, Dallas Cowboys cornerback, one of the better corners in the league. I think he's overrated. I do. Not to say that he's not talented. I do believe he is overrated, but I do think he's a good football player. I think people rate him a little bit higher because teams don't throw at him because the guy opposite of him is usually pretty mediocre, and that's the guy you should target when you're playing the Dallas Cowboys. But as far as Byron Jones is concerned, I think you are right. I think if the Cowboys are going to trim off some fat, he's the guy that is the odd man out. You can't pay everybody, right? They just paid Jalen Smith. They're going to have to pay Leighton Vander Esch if he's able to get his neck situation together. They just paid Tank Lawrence. They got to pay Dak Prescott. They just paid Ezekiel Elliott. They got to pay Amari Cooper. They only have but so much money. They paid everybody on their offensive line. So, yes, someone's got to be on the outside looking in, and I think it is Byron Jones. Someone's not getting paid, and I think he's the guy that doesn't get paid. When's the last time we went to the Dallas Cowboys store and got some good merch? When's the last time that happened? Not Jason Hatcher. When's the last time we went to the Dallas Cowboys store and got some quality merch? I'm serious. I'm trying to think. Somebody help me out there. Last time we went to the Dallas Cowboys store and got some quality merch. Yeah. What was the other defensive lineman before Hatcher? Big tall guy. Defensive tackle. He's a defensive tackle too, I believe. Got him from Dallas, I believe. Because remember, there was that one stretch there where we just loved poaching guys away from teams in the division. Eagles, Cowboys, Giants. We went on a little shopping spree in the division. Can't think of his name, though. I can see his damn face. I can't think of his name. I can't think of the last time we got some quality merch. Let me see if somebody in the comment section said anybody that I may have missed. Bowen, thank you. Stephen Bowen was his name. That wasn't top-notch merch, okay? That was some back of the store. Now we didn't pay clearance price for that. That wasn't a clearance item. We paid for that Stephen Bowen merch from the Cowboy store. But it wasn't worth it. All right? That was some RP55 merch that we got to the party just as RP55 was about to not be cool. We copped it. It was like, yo, this is dope. And then the next year, everybody was like, yo, you got on RP55. You a chump. Anybody? And I hate when I do that, but I'm a creature of habit. We don't get good merch from the Cowboy store. We don't. I think he's a really quality football player, but what it's going to cost to get him, I think someone's going to pay top dollar for him. I'm good. I'm actually good. I'd rather try to get a young player and develop him and try to get Dunny healthy and Jimmy Moreland, see what he's all about. And, we may get one, free agent corner, add him to the mix. But I don't know if I'm willing to pay top dollar. You know, and this is what I want you to keep in mind is that even if you don't pay Sheriff, we still got guys that are going to be up for contracts here short. Like, don't spend frivolously now because we have it and find yourself in a Khalil Mack type situation where somebody comes up and you're looking around like, damn, where did all of our dough go? And you spent it on dudes and now you don't have enough to keep your own. Got a call, going to go ahead and take it. Oh, just missed that call. Sorry, keep calling in. We're going to get to you, but Blackskin HTTR, Byron Jones is a solid player. I think he's going to command a bunch of free agent dollars. I think he's a little bit overrated, and I don't want to be the one to overpay for his services. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louis T. This is Martin Matthews from Fort Washington. First time calling in. How you be?
I'm doing well, man. What about yourself?
Look, man. I've been around when we had the Fun Bunch and we had the Diesel running down the field. I've been around that time, and ever since then, up until like 6 years ago, we've been the baddest team on the planet for playoff Super Bowl on paper. Always on paper. Then when the season started, we just crap out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what we're going to do. I'm just hoping we get some hope in here, but let me know if it's me. Every safety we've had has been hurt. So when do you think we should pick a safety for our team? Our first grade safety.
I think the safety position is one of those positions you don't have to necessarily draft a player that high to get a quality football player. This is the thing that's important about safeties. You have to find a guy that fits what you want to do defensively. Schematically, what you are trying to accomplish, you need to find that guy that can get the job done. And it doesn't have to be someone that you draft early on. Like a lot of the really good safeties in this league weren't drafted in the first round, man. A lot of the guys that I love at the safety position were not first round picks. I love Justin Simmons in Denver. I think he's one of the best safeties that no one talks about. He was a third round pick, if I'm not mistaken. You look at the Tennessee Titans safety, Kevin Byard. That's a third round safety there. Like there's a ton of good quality guys. You just gotta know what you're looking for. To me, we need a true free safety. Like Landon Collins is a box safety. Like we tried to hype ourselves up because we were paying him all this money. Like he can do everything. Hey, look, Landon's not terrible away from the line of scrimmage, but what he's best at is around the line of scrimmage. So let him do that. He's really good as a blitzer. He's really good around the line of scrimmage. So let him do that. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think we need a guy that can play away from the line of scrimmage. A guy that could drop over the slot potentially. A guy that can play single high free safety. And so where do you find that guy in this draft? I don't know. I'll be able to tell you a lot more about that in a month from now. But right now, I can tell you this. If they don't believe in Monte Nicholson, something needs to be done at the safety position.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Hey, I love your show, man. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you, man. Take care.
All right.
All right. So let's get to the comment section. All right. Let's get back up as high as we can and run through as many of these as we can until we get another call in here. 20th Mike says, Ron sounds very serious when he was talking to the media saying that he needs help. He can't do it by himself. Glad he knows that. And no coach can do it by himself. You need help. And that's why you go out and get a Jack Del Rio so that you don't have to worry about certain things on this football team. You need to be able to delegate to your assistant coaches and have those guys be your eyes and ears on the field and off as well. Got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Blue? This is AJ.
What's going on, man? Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. interesting with your last card when it comes to safeties.
Okay.
But it's just, I think the Redskins should look for is like secondary work and probably the later rounds, cornerback, safety.
Mm-hmm. So you think they should do that in the later rounds? Is what you said?
Yeah, because Chase Young I think Chase Young is going number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then, second, third, maybe fourth round, go safety, cornerback, defensive back.
I think they definitely need to add depth at those two positions, and whether they do it in the third, fourth, fifth, it really doesn't matter to me. I just want the best value possible. If a guy's sitting there, you got a second round grade on him, and you're sitting there in the third round, you take him. You know what I mean? So we'll see what they decide to do in the secondary, but they got to add something, and even if that's in free agency, I wouldn't rule that out either.
Yeah. Speaking of free agency,
yep.
How about this guy, Tony Jefferson?
I liked
from the Baltimore Ravens.
I liked Tony Jefferson when he was in Arizona. I thought he was solid in Baltimore, but he had a major injury this past season, cut his season short.
I think it was Achilles or ACL.
Yeah, I'm good on Tony Jefferson right now, but I remember when both he and DJ Swearinger were both free agents that same offseason, and we ended up getting DJ Swearinger, and Jefferson went to Baltimore.
Went to Baltimore.
Yep.
So what do you think? Do you think the Redskins should go after Tony Jefferson, or would you pass?
I would pass on him. He's got to be getting up there in age now. He's got to be getting close to 30 if he's not already 30, and he's coming off of a major surgery. I'm good. I'm going to pass.
So do you see any defensive backs in free agency that you would rather get?
Yes. We talked about this last week, I want to say, when we did the free agency show, but Anthony Harris, the safety out of Minnesota. And I just talked about the Redskins need a true free safety. That guy looks like a true free safety in every sense of the word. And Minnesota would be a damn fool to allow this guy to walk away. He was so good for them last year, but
definitely.
I would love the Redskins to take a stab at him. I would love it.
Yeah, Anthony Harris is probably the biggest part in Minnesota secondary. If not him, Harrison Smith.
Yeah, for sure. I thought they were one of the better safety tandems in the entire league, so I'd love to take a run at him and see what happens. But that's the guy in the secondary that stands out to me the most in terms of free agency.
And then when it comes to corners, which corner in free agency stands out to you the most?
I don't remember if we took a look at the cornerback position in free agency. I think Chris Harris was available, the Denver Broncos corner.
Chris Harris, Jimmy Smith.
I'm good on Jimmy. I don't know. I think Bashar Breeland. It was we did take a look at corner. Like Bashar Breeland and Kendall Fuller. All of those guys were free agents. Nothing really stood out at the cornerback position necessarily, and so I think I still want to go young there. I think I want to.
So I think they should draft the corner, look for a safety in free agency.
Yeah, that's more along the lines of what I would potentially do. Yep.
And do you think they'll keep Josh Norman just because he has cahoots with Ron Rivera?
It's possible. I mean, we've talked about the link there. Obviously, he won't be back for $15 million, which is what he's due this upcoming season. But like I said, if he's willing to come back on a heavy incentive-laden deal, I think he would definitely have an invite back here. But we'll see. There may be other teams out there that think Josh can play and if put in the right situation could be valuable for them. But his tape wasn't very good last year, so we'll see what happens with him.
But I think he picked this both Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio's system.
Yeah, and That's another thing you got to take into consideration. But, hey, thanks a lot for calling in, man. You take care. Appreciate you.
All right, see ya.
Yep. I got a super chat, so I'm going to go ahead and read that. Got a super chat from Justin Hodge. Appreciate the super chat, Justin. All right, Justin Hodge with the super chat. Thank you so much for blessing the program. And he says, it's your resident Utah Redskins fan. Always. Justin, stay represent. He says, hey, change of pace here. Thoughts on Garrett staying in the division? How is his tenure in Dallas going to affect the division going forward? Love what you do, HTTR. So he asked about Jason Garrett going to the Giants as their OC under new head coach Joe Judge. So it always is beneficial when a team in the division has a coach that was in the division. You know, nobody knows the inner workings of the NFC East than a coach that was here coaching in the division for the last, 7-8 years? How long? Jason Garrett was in Dallas a pretty damn long time, longer than we all thought he would be. Had to be every bit of 7 years, let's call it. But I think that I'm interested to see what he is as a play caller. Remember, he wasn't very good in Dallas, which is why they took that authority away from him and gave it to, I think it was Scott Linehan. And then they ran him out of town, and then it ended up being Kellen Moore. And he did a fantastic job last year until he decided not to run the football with Ezekiel Elliott down the stretch. But I'm anxious to see what he's able to do as a coordinator because he wasn't very good at it in Dallas. But maybe there were, some limitations on some things, and maybe he didn't want to, have as much control. I don't know. I found it odd, at the least, that he was sought after by Joe Judge. Like I just talked about with Ron Rivera, and a previous commenter said, glad that Ron Rivera acknowledges. I want to say it was the 20th mic that said, glad that Ron Rivera acknowledges that he needs help. And a lot of times these coaches like to have other coaches that have been head coaches in this league, especially when you are a first-time head coach like Joe Judge is. You want guys that have done it at that level to be an extra set of eyes. And maybe that's what Jason Garrett is going to provide for Joe Judge in New York. But I'm anxious to see what exactly Jason Garrett's philosophy is as an offensive play caller, because I don't really remember his time as an offensive coordinator. He was in Dallas, I believe, before he got the head coaching job. But I don't recall him being all that great of an offensive play caller himself. But then there were the 13-3 years with Tony Romo, and the years that they won the division and had really good records under Garrett. And the offense was really good. DeMarco Murray, had an 1,800-yard rushing year. And is he more of a run guy? Is he more of a pass guy? Is he balanced? I think these are things we're going to find out this year under Jason Garrett in New York, and it'll be interesting to see what he does. But he knows this division intimately, and so you keep that. That's the one thing about keeping a guy in the division, is that he knows the rest of the division. So it'll be interesting to see what Jason Garrett actually brings to the table in New York with the Giants. Once again, thank you for the super chat, Justin Hodge. He also doubled up with the super chat, did Justin Hodge. Came back and got him some seconds. And I appreciate that once again. Thank you for the super chat, doubling up. He says, if the Utah thing gets old for you, just let me know. No, it doesn't get old. I love when you guys represent where you're from. All right. We got the Seattle caller earlier. That's like the second time he's called into the program. You're from Utah. That's your thing. All right. And other people will remember Justin from Utah. So no, that doesn't get old. And I want you to continue to do that. All right. So I don't know. Mom, is it time for my shower yet? Do I need to get off of this stream, or can I keep going? I don't know. Maybe I should get off and go take a shower, Mom. I don't know. Let's keep going in the super chat. Or I don't think we have another super chat. We don't. Let's go back to the top. Oh, we actually have a call coming in. So we'll take that. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Okay, so that guy wasn't ready to talk. William Carter says, if we pick up Greg Olson, should we change our name to the Red Panthers? No, we shouldn't change our name to the Red Panthers. But I get your point. All right, point taken. William Carter says, are you going to follow DC XFL games? Not just DC, I'm going to watch the XFL. And for those of you who aren't aware, that league will start next week. All right. The very first week you think there's no football, ta-da! The XFL is going to show up. And they're taking it serious this time around. This isn't a gimmick. This isn't like the WWE XFL Vince McMahon put on the first time. That was for show. This league is going to have some substance to it. And I'm looking forward to it, man. Not just the DC team. I'm going to see what this product looks like. And just like the AAF, I'm going to give it a shot initially. And if the product is quality stuff, I'll continue to watch. If it's not, just like the AAF was, it'll be background noise for me. It'll be on. And then when I'm at my mom and dad's and we don't have anything else to watch, it'll be on. So we'll see. Got another super chat, though. This one from Gally Sanford. Thank you for the super chat, Gally Sanford. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Gally says, I hope we get Chase. Worst case, Cincinnati takes him and no trade. What then with number 2? Then what your, he says, what would you tell Ron? He says, he says, then what? Awesome. Tell Ron to call you for advice, he says. So let me read that again. Sorry, I had to understand what Gally was saying there. He says, I hope we get Chase. Worst case, Cincinnati takes him and no trade. What then with the number 2 pick? He says, then awesome. You call Ron and tell him what he needs to do. Essentially, have Ron call you for some advice. If Cincinnati takes Chase Young number 1 overall, and I think we've talked about this already numerous times, which I already told you, that's not going to happen. I would be absolutely stunned. Stunned to the point where I might be speechless if they didn't take a quarterback. Now, we have time between then and now, and I can tell you this much. If they go out in free agency and get a high-profile quarterback, one that we view as a real starter in this league, then you start going, I see you, Cincinnati. You up to something. Then, and only then, will I start to think differently. There's no way in my mind that they're going to pass up a chance at Joe Burrow or Tua Tagovailoa. I just don't see it happening. Simple as that. They got a chance to take who they perceive to be the best quarterback in this draft. And whether that's Tua or Joe Burrow, they've got a chance to do that. And it's going to be Joe Burrow. All right, I'm not going to sit here and entertain the Tua or Joe discussion. It's Joe Burrow, okay? They're going to take Joe Burrow. And we're going to be sitting there at number 2. But in your hypothetical, if they take him, number 1, do Cincinnati, take Chase Young, and we pick up the phone and nobody wants to come up to number 2, which is impossible. If Joe Burrow and Tua are sitting there at number 2, it is impossible that the phone isn't ringing off the hook and there are multiple teams calling in with trade proposals. But let's go with your premise again, that Cincinnati's taking Chase off the board and there's no Chase Young. And there's no trade. Then what? Now you're in between a rock and a hard place. Now you have to take best player available on your board. Who is that player? I don't know. But whomever you have graded out that, and I told you what I would do. In the absolute worst case scenario, I already told you what I would do. I can't get a trade. I can't get Chase. Well, goddamn it, I'm taking Joe Burrow. Taking his ass, and I'm holding him for ransom. Somebody's going to give me something. What I'm not going to do is let Joe Burrow go third or allow Detroit or somebody else to trade out of that pick. That's what I'm not going to do. But I don't see that taking place. Anyway, got another super chat. Appreciate you. Once again, HTTR for life. Thank you so much for the super chat. What is that? Your second or your third of the night? You are killing it. Thank you so much for the support. He says, do you think now that Bruce is gone, fans will show up? I know I'm going to be there. HTTR from North Carolina. So here's the thing. I think it's going to take more than just Bruce being gone to get the fan base back to the stadium. FedEx Field is not a great stadium. It's not a great stadium experience. It's not a great fan day experience. And you want to see a winner. And I think it's going to take time for the Redskins to get people juiced up enough to come back to the stadium to support the team. I can tell you this much. If Ron Rivera gets this team off to a 3-0 start and Dwayne Haskins is playing well, I think you could see a huge turnout. Let's say that the first 3 games of the season are road, home, road. All right, so your first 2 out of 3 are on the road. And you start the season off 3-0 with wins over, let's go with Cleveland, Giants, and Philadelphia in your first 3 weeks. And then you got a week 4 home tilt versus the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to be a raucous environment. 3-0 Redskins, Dallas coming to the building. Fans are going to show up for that. Let's say that week 4 matchup is the Pittsburgh Steelers. May show up, may not show up. I don't know. I think the Steelers are a road game, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I think we have Pittsburgh on the road. So, anyway, what I'm saying to you is it's going to take some wins by Ron Rivera. But it does help that Bruce is no longer here. And if you get Chase Young, that may make the crowd, the fans that much more responsive to potentially coming out. It's all about the momentum. You built some momentum getting rid of Bruce and hiring Ron Rivera. You could build more momentum in free agency and even more by drafting Chase Young. But ultimately, to get the fans back, they need a winning product that they can get behind. I don't know if that happens in year 1 of Ron Rivera or not. I think more fans will be willing to come out and see, but I don't know if it's going to be something that lasts the entire season. Winning is the only way you get them to come back and stay consistently. Another super chat, this time from Gally Sanford. Once again, double up, from Gally Sanford. Thank you for the super chat once again, Gally Sanford. Gally says, sorry about the last chat, but thank you. Well answered. You're the man. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. We're going to figure it out, man. You super chat, we're going to get it together. We're going to figure it out. Thank you for not your first, but your second super chat of the night. Once again. So, got a call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Okay. Got a lot going on in the background there. So we're going to keep it moving over here. William Carter says, did you see Ron Rivera say that Alex Smith could be the starting quarterback on the Pat McAfee show? No, I didn't see that. I missed that. Look, Alex Smith has to get healthy. If he's healthy enough to compete, then if they decide to open it up and make it a competition, Dwayne's got to go out there and prove he deserves to be the starter. I've said this since Ron Rivera took over. They're not going to just hand him the job. They are going to make him earn it. And I don't have a problem with that. He's got to show them that he understands what it takes to be a starting quarterback in this league. That he's got to be the first one in, last one to leave, that sort of thing. He's got to be in the playbook. He's got to know it front and back. He's got to show them that this is his team and that he deserves to be the starting quarterback of the Washington Redskins. Last year, he showed up and he felt entitled. Like, I'm Dwayne Haskins. I'm the 15th pick in the draft overall. Start me. And he wasn't ready. And he didn't show the coaching staff that he needed to play. And no, Jay didn't give him enough opportunity, but he didn't prove to the coaching staff that he needed the opportunity. It wasn't until he failed epically a couple of times that, and a couple of veterans stepped in his face and was like, dude, you got to take this shit serious. That he got his act together and he was so embarrassed that he started doing the things that lend itself to being a better quarterback in this league. And we saw the product of that the end of the season. So I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised that Ron Rivera is saying that, look, Alex Smith, if healthy, and remember, there was a Panther fan that we had on the show, my man Syndico, that came on and said, look, Ron Rivera loves his veteran players. And he said, it would not shock me if Dwayne Haskins is not your starter week 1, but instead it's some veteran quarterback. He said that on his program. So we know what Ron's MO is. Dwayne has to prove to him that he's the guy. We'll see if he does that. Got a call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey Louis, this is Calvin.
Hey, what's going on, Calvin?
Oh, nothing much. Hey, I got a few questions. Got a superficial one to start off with.
Okay.
What would you be in favor of the Redskins updating their uniforms?
Nah, I'm a traditionalist. I like certain teams.
Yeah.
There are no attachments to their uniforms, so you can do whatever the hell you want to do to them.
Right.
Like the Seahawks, there's no attachment there. You do whatever you want to those. The Broncos have switched jerseys like 2 or 3 times. The Buccaneers seem to switch jerseys every 3 years. Like, yeah, knock yourself out. But, there's like the Packers, the Bears. Like, there's only so much you could do to those uniforms. Like, those are classic uniforms. I don't. Let me ask you, would you like to see the Redskins do something with their uniforms?
Well, I actually am. I like the old throwback that they did back when LeVar and them were playing.
Oh, those were so crispy. You're talking about the 2000. I want to say it was the 2001 season where they wore the dark burgundy with the like the Florida State arrows on the helmet.
Yeah, those. Yeah.
Oh my God, I had a Portis one of those. Man, was that jersey? Those were dope. Yeah, I think that was like the 2003 season.
I love those. I wish they would bring those back.
Yeah, I love those. I love those even more than the ones they always wear on the alumni weekend.
Yeah. I agree. I think way better than those. Way better than those.
I think they only let them wear those for like anniversary or something. I don't know. And then there was a jersey. Yeah, that was the one for me too. I love those as well.
Yeah. Do you like when they wear the all burgundy?
I love it. I love when they wear the all white. I love when they wear the all burgundy. We just never win when we do that. But I love it. It looks crisp.
That's true. Now, do you think that the Skins will re-sign Eric Flowers and Brendan Scherf, and do you believe that they should?
I think they're going to sign one of the two. I do not think they're going to sign both of them back. I think that they would like to re-sign Brandon Scherf, but are they willing to pay what it's going to take to get Brandon Scherf back here? And does Brandon Scherf want to be back here? He said it, but and that sounds good, but what else was he supposed to say? It's going to take $90 million to get him back here. 5 years, $90 million. Are you willing to pay that for a guard? If they are, cool. If not, it'll take probably 3 years, $27 million to get Eric Flowers back. I think that's what they would much rather pay. And then, because they got a good look at Wes Martin towards the end of the season and he played so well, they may be thinking, we may be able to cut a corner here. Let Brandon walk, keep Eric Flowers and keep it moving. But I just don't like the precedence that sets, because here's a guy you drafted in the first round. He's done nothing but be an exemplary Redskin, played through injury, been one of the leaders of the locker room and a guy you could count on. And he does everything you ask him to do. And this whole core Redskin thing you always talk about, he's that.
Yeah.
And you let him walk because you don't want to pay him. Like, I got a problem with that. So it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I know a lot of people that are like, nah, I'm not paying $90 million for Brandon Sheriff. I'm sorry. And then I know there's the other end of the spectrum where guys in the locker room, other guys see that. I saw a tweet, and I brought this up before, but I'm bringing it up again because it's pertinent. Dunny said, someone had asked Dunny on socials, you think Bree or Fuller would come back? And he was like, nah, they did those boys dirty. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And so other dudes in the locker room, they see that stuff, man.
Well, I remember when Fuller was traded, he found out on social media.
Right.
He thought he was like, I haven't been traded.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and I was like, what kind of communication
Right.
do they have over at Redskin Park if they're not telling the guys that they actually been traded?
Right. But that was all Bruce right there. Everything was secretive.
Yeah.
Just like his dad. That was his dad's thing. Oh, they're spying on us. Like his dad was ultimate, paranoia guy, and Bruce was kind of similar in that regard.
It was definitely paranoia, that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Calvin, man, appreciate you chiming in, man.
All
Always
right.
good talking
Thanks
to
a
you.
lot,
Take
Louis.
care.
Appreciate it.
No doubt.
Take care.
All right. Let's see where we at. Make sure we don't have any more. Oh, got another super chat. Gonna read that. This one is from Mr. Yeah the Ho. Yeah the Ho. All right. Mr. Yeah the Ho. I hope I said that right. I want to say that was the dude that fried me up that one time when we was on that live stream. But in any event, he says, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. He says, Lou, I need support and show love. Definition of a true Skins fan. What do you see our roster looking like at the start of the season? So free agency is going to tell me a lot about this football team. What direction Ron, because right now we're all in the dark. We have no idea what Ron thinks of this roster. We don't know what players he thinks are dead weight, players that he thinks he can win with moving forward. None of that. Now, there are holdovers like Kyle Smith and Alex Santos and guys like that are here. And we don't know for how long. Like I expect Kyle Smith to be here. I don't think he's going anywhere. Alex Santos, on the other hand, nothing's etched in stone with him. He could be gone after the draft is over with. But we'll see what happens. But these are guys that have been here, that have some kind of working knowledge of this roster and the guys that are here and what they feel like they're fully capable of providing moving forward. That being said, free agency will tell the story, I believe, as to what direction they want to go in. Because a lot of times when you get a brand new regime in a building, they've got an idea of guys that they like and don't like. They got an idea of, guys that fit what they want to do and don't fit moving forward. And so you can see a little bit of all of that kind of working. But to answer your question in particular, because you did ask a specific question of me, what do I think this roster is going to look like? I think when it's all said and done, this will be a roster that is capable of winning anywhere from 8 to 10 games. I think that's the kind of roster that the Redskins will put on paper Again, on paper, which is what a caller said not too long ago, that on paper, this team at times has looked like world beaters. Other times they have not. I think when it's all said and done, because of the coaching staff, and I have confidence in Jack Del Rio, I have confidence in Ron Rivera, I think you're going to see a much better coached football team. So even if the talent isn't as great, they can get the most out of what you put on the football field. So I feel good about that. Haven't been able to say that in the past. Feel really good about that. So I like what we have on defense, especially if you can get a Reuben Foster back. I don't want to count on him, but if you can get a Reuben Foster back, if Cole Holcomb continues to develop, I love the fact that we're switching back to a 4-3. I think it's going to be really good for that D-line. I think they're going to get to do the things that they were made to do. Ioannidis, Payne, Allen are going to get to do what they are made to do, which is be one gap penetrators instead of two gapping all day long. So I think just based off of the scheme switch, this defense gets better. Montez Sweat in year 2, to me, seems better. You add, I think you're going to add Chase Young, going to make this defense electrifying potentially, going to make the secondary better. What is in that secondary? That's a question mark right now. I think that's one of those positions that definitely needs to see vast improvement. And we saw flashes from Moreau last year, but what does Fab have for an encore as a boundary corner? We know he doesn't work in the slot. Well, what does he look like full-time as a boundary corner? We may find out. So defensively, I think we have a lot of the pieces. Offensively, I think that's where the most question marks lie because, and we said that last year, and the offense turned out to be better than the defense. But remember, we went through a stretch of a whole month without scoring a touchdown. So let's not act like the offense was a world beater last year. The defense stunk and the offense was trash last year. So offensively, you got questions along the offensive line. We just talked about it. Last caller called in and said, hey, what are we going to do at guard? That's a question we got to answer. All right. And even if we do re-sign Sheriff, and let's say we get both of those guys back, Sheriff and Flowers, got to stay healthy. What are we doing at left tackle? Is Trent coming back? I don't know. You don't know. They don't know. We don't know what's going on there. Do we have to draft someone? Got to find that out. So still some questions to be answered along the offensive line. Then the running back, can we keep guys healthy? Can that happen? What is Bryce Love? Chris Thompson most likely not going to be back. Question marks in that backfield. All right, so that's another question mark position where you got a number of questions, not enough answers. Receiver, got to do something there. Love Terry McLaurin. I think Kelvin Harmon developed nicely in his rookie season as well. Love what Steven Sims brings to the table. But outside of those three, Trey Quinn has been a big disappointment for me, whether it's injuries or just lack of production. And I actually think he can play. But I haven't been impressed, and that was a Jay Gruden guy. So I don't know if he's on his team moving forward or not. Cam Sims, another guy. Don't really know what to expect from him. Got to do something at receiver. Question marks there. And then tight end, obviously, might be the biggest question mark on the team. The entire team. So, to me, offense right now, and then, Dwayne Haskins is the elephant in the room. And we just had a caller or a commenter that said he may not even be your starter. We don't know what the staff thinks of Dwayne Haskins. We don't know what their mindset is. They may be open right now to a competition if Alex Smith shows them that he's healthy. Or they may bring in a veteran that they feel like can compete for a starting job here. We don't know what they're thinking. So many questions, not a ton of answers. I'll just say this, 8-8 to 10-6. And if we draft Chase Young, I'm going to be bullish with what I think this defense can be with Jack Del Rio. You asked me what's different? Oh, we were bullish on the defense. Jack Del Rio wasn't our defensive coordinator last year. That's why it's different this year. So, there you have it. All right. So, thank you again for the super chat. And it's 11:30. I said I was going to go for 2 hours. We did. So, all right, I want to thank you guys. This was one of my favorite live streams in a while. A lot of super chat, a lot of great participation, a lot of really good phone calls. And so I thank you guys sincerely for the amount of support you showed me tonight. And some really good spirited debates, man. And a lot of you seem to not be on board with getting Greg Olson. I can't wait to read the comments in the comment section of that video. A lot of you seem to be vehemently against that proposition. And honestly, I don't think he wants to come here. You know, the only dot that I'm connecting is the Ron Rivera dot. But I don't know if that's a strong enough dot to get him here. But that's nor here nor there. Bottom line is, I'm a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. Thank you guys for all the calls, all the comments. Sorry to all those that I did not get to, but you know how this works. All right, I gave you the pecking order beforehand, super chat, phone call, and then the comment section. Again, if I didn't get to your comment, sorry about that. But looking forward to chopping it up with you in the near future. And as I always tell you, go ahead and put this down in your calendar. Well, next week is a little different. I'm going out of town, so may not be able to do this. If I do, I will push it up a day to Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. I will let you guys know well in advance if we're going to do this next week. We may not. Either way, I thank you guys for chopping it up with me tonight. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Louis T Network for more great content, and as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Check out the podcast, brand new episode coming your way tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. If you haven't checked out, did a Kobe Bryant episode. That was a stunning situation that was heartbreaking, and there was a podcast last week, and don't forget, we got the Super Bowl coming up, so a lot of stuff to talk about. Should be a fun one. Looking forward to it. In any event, you guys take it easy. Have a good one. And once again, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Louis T Network.